Greetings. Merry Christmas Eve to all of you. I just thought I would go live quickly today to wish you a Merry Christmas and to tell you a little Christmas Eve story from the medieval age, inspired by a book that my kids' grandma got them called The Clown of God. But to lead up to that story, I want to tell you first a little story about the last few days. So I got it in my head that I would put together and film a music video for all of you as a gift to ring out this year that we've had. 2020 is a hashtag for frustration and suffering, and it has almost become a cliche. And so I thought that I would counter that a little bit, not to deny the suffering or the grief, but to counter it with praise. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you're familiar with Martin Prachtel's work, but he talks about grief and praise. And Hildegard of Bingen spoke about the wings of awareness. One wing is awareness of hope and beauty, and the other is the awareness of suffering. And we've had the wing of awareness of suffering flapping its one wing so much this year that I thought I would flap the other wing and weave together a unity with the other wing. So I am seeing some, quite a lot of denial within more prosperity-driven culture that would suggest that this year has been fine, or that people aren't going through a lot. So I'll name that. But when I made this music video, that was not what I was up to. I was weaving together both wings. And what I did was I sort of became a sacred clown. So I dressed up. I have different characters, and over the coming days, I'll reveal with photographs the different characters. And I was really inspired, actually, by the stories of the jugglers that were honored by the Franciscans. They called them clowns of God. And it was at a time when no one was a stranger to plagues and pestilence. And there was, it felt like the end times in many ways. And there was a huge, great turning in that medieval era. So much changed for them. And these jugglers were seen as holy by the Franciscans. And so the story goes that there was this little boy who was an orphan, and his name was Giovanni. And this is inspired by this book, The Clown of God, which is based on a legend. So this little boy, he goes to the market every day, and he picks up vegetables from this stand, and he juggles the vegetables. And the people ask him to come back and juggle every day, and they feed him as a payment because it draws attention to their particular vegetable stand. One thing leads to another, and he is drawn into a traveling theater group. And he juggles and grows up to be a professional juggler. And he develops his act. He leaves the theater group. He goes out on his own. He has costumes and he wears makeup and he juggles flames. And he juggles, at the very end of his act, he juggles all of these balls, the color of the rainbow. And there's one ball that is a golden ball. And he juggles all these balls, and the golden ball goes up the highest. And it becomes sort of the centerpiece of his act. he goes through his life doing this act, traveling around as this sort of sacred clown. And he is encountered by some Franciscans. And they tell him, don't let anyone tell you what you're doing is not of God. Don't let anyone tell you what you're doing is not needed. And they said anyone who can make other people laugh at a time like this is doing holy work. So he continued his holy work until he became an old man, and he was doing his juggling act, and he attempted his juggling of all of the rainbow colors of the balls and the golden ball, and he dropped the balls. And he realized that maybe his time was up as a performer. So he puts down all of his costumes and his balls into his little sack, and he goes about begging for his food. And he's hungry, and it's Christmas Eve, and he hears music coming from a church or an abbey, and it's a Franciscan church. And he goes in, and there's this beautiful procession and beautiful music. And he sees at the front that there is a statue of the Mother Mary and the baby Jesus. And the look on their faces is solemn, almost a sad, solemn, gloomy expression on their face. And so he waits until everyone leaves the church, and he stands in front of the Mother Mary and the baby Jesus, and he pulls out all of his costumes and his juggling act, and he gets dressed, and he puts on his makeup, and he starts his performance in front of them. Well, there's a Franciscan brother who is maybe one of the bean counter types, the ones that maybe like to play by all the rules and don't catch the subtleties of how Christ plays in well more than 10,000 places and in the most unlikely places. And he goes running off to tattle, to tell on this homeless man who's this clown who's juggling in front of the Mother Mary and the baby Jesus. Well, he gets to the end of his act, his rainbow colored balls and the golden ball, and he does it the best he's ever done it. And it turns out that it is his swan song, because after he is done, he passes on, he dies. And these Franciscan brothers come running in, and they see him. He's laying there with all of his juggling attire all around him. And they look at the statue, and there is the Mother Mary and the baby Jesus. The baby Jesus has caught the golden ball, and they're both smiling. I wanted to tell that story because I was inspired because it's a Christmas Eve story, but also in the last few days when I have posted some pictures, there's one of me where I'm dressed up in a steampunk outfit holding a mandolin, and others. And I got some private messages from some people who were questioning that whether or not I should be doing this. And I think part of it is that we all have this idea of someone who we like to think of someone, and we place expectations on others. And I just would like to say that I don't want to be pigeonholed like this clown was. And the very reason why I made the music video that I'm going to share with you all is for that reason, is because our tradition actually has so many different stories of people, holy people, who told the truth in slant. And it's Jesus is a double entendre. And and that was one of the reasons why I made the music video as well, is to sort of shirk off these expectations I put on myself and the expectations we all put on ourselves, and to realize that all of this was created, and that we need to have some fun sometimes. And it's not just the Christian tradition that has sacred clowns. It is an important element. Coyote or old crow, it's an important element to have in the mix of our lives, because without it, things would look very much, I think, like the expressions of Mother Mary and the baby Jesus had on their face prior to the sacred clown doing his final act for them. So thank you so much for listening, and Merry Christmas, and have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful next few days. We celebrate the full 12 days of Christmas, and we feast through those days. And I hope that you do the same, and have a little levity in the midst of all of the rest. So blessings on you.